My name is Amy Sacco, and I own and created probably some of the most exclusive nightclubs today in the world, and if not the most exclusive, the toughest doors you could ever try to get into. How many of you have ever tried to go to a nightclub and dealt with a door? It's not the most entertaining experience, is it? But most of you will know me actually most famously from my first club, which is called Bungalow 8. Bungalow 8 was actually built in West Chelsea, a very small and intimate lounge, as the opposite of my first club, Lot 61, which is a very large place. It's supposed to mirror the idea of a beautiful Hollywood hotel bungalow. And in the midst of designing all of this, we had no idea exactly what was to happen after, but we certainly created quite the scandal of the red carpet royalty. In essence, we started getting everyone from Leonardo DiCaprio to Britney Spears to George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Sean Penn, Michael Douglas, Cameron Diaz, and the list goes on and on and on. But the original concept itself came from one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to, or at the time had never been to, and that would have been the beautiful Beverly Hills Hotel. But I was dreaming about what it might have been to have been there back in the day, when it was grand Hollywood, old Hollywood, the glamour from the 20s through the 40s. And in this time, they had these tiny bungalows that were ended up being built by actually Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and Charlie Chaplin, who decided to take small plots of land around the Beverly Hills Hotel, throw a bunch of string on them, a few bricks on one, a few on the others, and put sold signs on most of them, although they'd not sold a thing. Ergo, then came the colonization of Beverly Hills itself. And you ask me how I get all these fabulous, amazing people that come through the door now and all that red carpet royalty. Well, basing it on the Beverly Hills bungalows, there were the stories of all of the fabulous people that came there, like Howard Hughes, especially at Bungalow 8, who loved to have one of his starlets or many of his starlets in the various bungalows to keep them away from the studio heads and the prying eyes of the press. So that worked very well. Then you also had like the Michael Milkins of the world who had their no wives allowed parties on the Thursday nights. And you can just imagine what those were like. So in essence of that, making that kind of balance in the world of having the fabulous and wanting to have those kind of people in my nightclub happened kind of as an accidental tourist. I can remember the first night that I opened my first nightclub, Lot 61 in West Chelsea. It was a torrential downpour. And you're talking about a place at the moment where there was not a soul that lived there or worked there. There was maybe 2 or 3 galleries. And frankly, out of the 500 people that showed up for me, probably because there was like, who is that crazy girl who's opening up in the middle of nowhere? We have to meet this crazy person. So on that specific night, about 100 of those people were people that I knew, and about 400 were the people that my publicist happened to invite. But as you can see, my publicist hates me. And this is the start of the best part of my career. My first clients that came through the door that were special was my friend Bruce Willis, who actually was not invited to the party, not because I don't love him, and I certainly was happy that he showed up. But in the meantime, he came because a friend told him that his pal was opening a place and he should stop by. And then he ends up bringing Denzel Washington, another power-packed superstar of the A-list movie star world. And the two of them stunned me so much because I wasn't expecting them that I refused to let anyone take a photograph of them at all. I felt that that was rude, as they'd done me such a solid favor of showing up in the first place and helping to put me on the map. So that wasn't quite what they were looking for in publicity, and it didn't really make them thrilled with me, and everyone warned me that this would not be good for me because it certainly wouldn't help to get the word out. But then it was better because it was more like word of mouth. And the word of mouth was far better than you could have ever imagined any press to have been. For myself, I think that over my career, press has been lovely to get and nice and great for my mom. My mom's really proud. She loves it. But nothing I ever look at myself in order to keep my mind clear and not be competitive with myself or with anyone else. But the word of mouth had a very big effect on what I do for a living. So after Bruce and Denzel left, they end up going out and telling a few of their friends. And so you start to see people like Kevin Costner and some of his friends told more friends. 3 months later, I'm doing a party for the beautiful and wonderful and extremely talented Giorgio Armani. And Armani himself brought 200 A-list celebrities through my front door. So from there, it was a piece of cake. Somewhat. I mean, when you see Sophia Loren sitting between Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese telling you how great your pasta tasted, you pretty much think you may have made it. But you should never get too happy or too sedentary. You have to keep going. So again, keeping up the energy and keeping up the vibe. Not too much longer after that, a young lady came to me who just finished wrapping her first show, and before the first night that it premiered, or the first night, it was called Sex and the City. Not a bad career she started with that fantastic show, all about everything that all of my clients dream of, sex and the city, in our city, with everyone in the city. So that wasn't bad either. To make this magic and to keep this magic going, there are some negatives as well. The biggest one is the door. Nobody wants to work at the door. I certainly don't want to work at the door. It's the most miserable job you could ever have on the planet. But in order to make everyone that's coming to your nightclub happy, you have to think about the fact that why are they there? What do they want to see? Who do they want to meet? What kind of a time are they looking for? Are they dancing? Are they drinking? Are they trying to meet someone, future husband, future wife, a girlfriend, one night stand? Who knows? None of my business. But at the same time, it's my business to make all of that energy happen. So half the time, though, you have to say no. There's no vacancy in the house. It depends. It's not about who you are, who you think you are, or how much money you have, or anything like that. For me, it's all about your energy and your vibe. If you're not someone who's going to bring something to me, like ask not what your party can do for you, but what are you doing for my party? Because I certainly don't need a bunch of look-see-loos hanging out, watching everyone, and interrupting people's conversations, and kind of maddeningly trying to take photos. It's far more fun if you pick a fun person who has a little bit of energy and is going to give a little energy to your party. That being said, that's basically what I call brand integrity. The balance of having not too many guys, not too many girls, making it an interesting crowd, an interesting room, with a huge mix of cross-cultural and transgenerational people of all walks of life, which only makes it more fun for me, because I don't feel like being bored at work either. But with brand integrity, sometimes you have the good and sometimes you have the bad. His favorite story was someone who came to visit me, who is someone I fully respect, Mark Cuban. He's a brilliant businessman. I'm a big fan of his shows and a big fan of his career as well. But when he rocked up to Bungalow 8, he happened to have all of about 10 to 15 guys off the golf course. Now, mind you, Bungalow 8 has a room for about 100 people. And so there you are in a quandary. How do I tell a man that can buy and sell me about 1 million times over that I can't take care of him tonight? I mean, I know he's going to spend money, but that's not really my issue. I have two problems. I have disappointing Mark, and then I have disappointing my room and the clientele that I already have inside the club. So to make that magic energy again, like I said before, you need the mix. So if 15 guys walk in the room with golf clothes, and most of the people, I can guarantee you, the hipsters and the cool people don't know who he is, even though I do, they're not going to care, and they're going to look around and say, this place is so going downhill, there's too many guys, what's the golf thing, I don't get it, let's get out of here, this place is over. That's one side. If I let Mark in, actually, and if I had let him on the other side, Mark would have been like, these people are all leaving, this place is over, I don't know what the big hype is, this place stinks, I'm not coming back here anymore. Either way, then Mark could pick it up for a nickel. People have to understand that it's a very, very difficult choice, and it has to be about balance, and we can't take care of everyone all the time, but you never want to see that. That's just something that you never want to see, because you don't want it in the papers. We didn't put it in the papers, but it ended up in the papers. And now I'm for sure I'm probably a marked woman. I'm surprised I haven't been killed yet. In the end of the day, going back to social mixology. Social mixology is the best part of everything. I need rogues, reprobates, raconteurs, rock stars, friends and family to start the night off. You want a really diverse crowd, especially really interesting people. For example, Salman Rushdie, who I did get to write the lyrics for 2 songs for our pretend man band when we decided that boy bands were over and man bands were in. And after we made a joke of it, we had 25 offers for Gap ads and everything else like that. It was pretty incredible. He's still willing to come out for round 2 when we rediscovered them after their former crash on a desert island and brought them back to New York for their 2nd round at double platinum. They're called Casanova. Look out for them soon. Along with authors, you also, you need authors and you need writers and you need sports people, your snowboarders. And this one still owes me about 2 weeks full of full snowboard training, which I'm too terrified to get. And the more years that this comes up, the less likely I am to take him up on his offer. Let's just say I don't expect to see me on the slopes, probably more at the après-ski bar. Speaking of artists, of course, Damien Hirst, who is also a friend, but multiple kinds of artists. Besides writers, you want auteurs, you want singers, you want performers, you need to kind of have that kind of savoir-faire, whether someone's taking their art from their clothing and their idea of who they are as a being, who they are as a person. We had several runway walk-offs between quite a few of my friends that were quite exemplary. We might have to repeat that too. You also need a couple of moguls to go along with those movie stars. Again, interesting people. This one particularly loved Lot 61 so much that he came back twice and brought Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver back with him later. And I still have the note that he sent me, which still keeps me very happy and motivated to keep going forward. You've got your models, although she never threw a phone at my head, and I think that she gets a bad rap. So we have to give it up for Naomi. She's a pretty amazing woman who's done a lot of great things with her life. But after all that's said and done, and I probably will have more fun hanging out with my construction manager or my plumber, when you get to my place, everyone's treated like a star. It's very important that you treat everyone the same. Once they've gotten past those ropes and they've been chosen to come in, they're family now, they're friends, and you want to treat them with that respect. You want to make sure that they're happy because their word of mouth is just as important and more important than anyone else you can meet that's famous, because they're the ones who are going to be your meat and potatoes for the rest of your life. They're your core family that's going to stay with you and hang out with you through the good and the bad times. And they're basically, we call them the cult of 8, which is very appropriate for them. And the other note, the same way with the cult of 8, you have to know your clientele. It's important to know what they want, what kind of experience they're looking for. And basically, in any give or take of a night, somebody might have a special need, whether I'm holding their ponytail, whether they're getting sick, or a cup of coffee, or getting them something special, playing a song that they love by the DJ. For example, this guy I know very well loves to have, usually with an entourage or even when he's without, he loves to have the privacy of the private room so we can hold court and talk about the world of politics, whatever else he feels like talking about, and probably against my better judgment, sneak a cheeky cigarette, which is not really allowed anymore anywhere. And Iman, of course, is one of our favorites, but she loves a particular kind of white wine. So although I don't sell that white wine on a regular basis in my purview of the entire bars, we always have a stash in my office that's on chilled just for her. Getting to that, the next most important thing would be fundraising. As any adventure capitalist knows, you can't have any adventure without any fun. So fundraising is a very important part of the game. So my little socialite friends and my little butterflies, the ones I actually started with, they love eye candy. They love hot boys, they love to dance, they love champagne, and they love spoiling things like you would not believe. And therefore we have things like the hall pass. Now the hall pass is very useful for those of you when those girls were younger, to kind of give them a little bit of an edge when they got home before the parents gave them a grounding, which I doubt they ever got. Or for your random husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend that actually wasn't home on time, had a bit too much fun, we would send the random bouquet of flowers, a nice bottle of champagne, or some small kind of gift for them to make sure when they got home they didn't get that much of a lynching. Ere to the hall pass allowed them to come back and party with us again on another night. We go back to how I started. How I started, well, it's not just the years and years and years of blood, sweat, and tears, and I'll say many tears, and trying everything in the hospitality business, from coat check to door girl to busser to prep cook in the kitchen, the accounting department. Not fun at all. Everyone's so crabby. Bartender, bar back, waitress. That was a really good time. All of those things matter a lot, but what happens first is how did I get the money is the most important part. And that comes with my favorite story, because my best friend, Yvonne Force Villarreal, she and I started out at Boulé when I first came to New York. We were both hostesses making about zero money. I was a capitalist, she was a starving artist. She worked 3 days, I worked 7 to 8 in my mind. And she always said to me, Amy, I want to know how to learn to make money. And I said, well, Yvonne, can you make me cool? Because I'm just a girl from Jersey. I don't know anyone, didn't come from anywhere. So she taught me how to dress and try to be cool, and I taught her how to make money. And once in a while, we'd leave the beautiful confines of the coat check room and run off to another hot place and have a glass of champagne and toast each other and said, whoever makes it first helps the other. And one day, years later, I got a call from Yvonne, and she said, meet me at the Waldorf Astoria, black tie, 7 o'clock, don't ask any questions. I was like, okay. I get there, and down like the fairy tale, like a fairy godmother, she comes clicking down the stairs in these Swarovski Gucci shoes that I knew were at least 10,000 a piece, and I'm like, what? And she says, guess what? I made it finally. And she's like, I took your advice, I stopped making art, and I started selling art. And now I curate Lawrence Spelman Rockefeller's art collection, and I'm at 30 Rock in my office. And I said, amazing. And she goes, so tonight I'm going to pay it forward, and I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of billionaires and a bunch of really, really rich guys, maybe a couple $100 million, so you can sell your place. And that is how I got my investors. So it was very much of a pay it forward situation. And again, following that, Raphael and Diana Vignoli were the first people to help me do my space, because I had no idea. I had this massive 5,000 square foot truck garage in the middle of West Chelsea, which was basically strippers and leather bars and crackheads, and it was great. Boy, New York's coming too homogenized. We gotta fix that. But the Vignolis agreed to do my design, as I could never have afforded them. And again, paying it forward all the time with my friends. So we always think about that when we go back. But to wrap it all up, I will say, the biggest lesson I could ever teach anyone is you're never better than your clients or the people that you serve when you're in the service industry. So no matter how big your britches get, how famous you become, how many people know your name, never get high on your own supply. Because occasionally it's fine to have a glass of champagne, maybe one or two, but it's always good to know when it's time to go home. Thank you.